Welcome, everybody, to today's episode of Move, Crush, Count. I'm your host, Scott Joseph. Today's episode is brought to you by J&L Marketing, the digital and direct marketing agency that helps companies outsmart their competitors so they don't have to outspend them. With their innovative approach, J&L helps clients move the crowd, crush the competition, and count the money. Make sure you visit their website at jnlmarketing.com so you can see how they help their clients outsmart their toughest competitors. Now, let's get started in today's show. Introduce our guest. Arnold Gacita is joining us on the Move, Crush, Count podcast. Has a tremendous amount of wealth and experience and expertise in the world of marketing and brand development. We'll cover a lot of that today. He's got a proven track record when it comes to success in aligning products and services with what his clients demand, want, and need. He's implemented all kinds of winning strategies in very competitive markets. Arnold is a true pro. He knows how to increase sales and profits. We're going to talk a lot today about how he does that through fixed ops. But this is not an automotive only show, and we're going to show you. We changed this a little bit yesterday, and I want all the business leaders that are out there that may not be in automotive to pay attention a lot to the type of questions we're going to be asking Arnold today, and how you could incorporate or integrate those into your everyday problem-solving situations. So we'll dive right in. First off, let's welcome Arnold Gacita.
I'm glad to be here. I got to remember that every time I come on your show, I need to wear a T-shirt.
Yes. Listen, well, it's got to be branded. It's got to be branded.
Yeah, I get it.
All right, hold on here. Let me. So as I mentioned, it's going to be a little bit different. And Arnold, you participate in all the masterminds that we do with Business Bourbon and Cigars. So once we get kind of laying the groundwork and explaining where the market is a little bit today, I kind of want to dive into that process that we do when we do our mastermind breakout sessions, and ask a lot of the same questions that we might ask some of those groups, where we can identify problems, obstacles, barriers, really focus in on the one that'll have the greatest impact on helping us achieve our goal, and then start coming up with solutions. And I think it'll be a fun show if we can do that. And it obviously would help the automotive audience, all the fixed ops directors and general managers and dealers that want to hear this.
Sure.
But if you're outside of auto, you're going to be listening to this and being like, wow, I could easily integrate that type of technique or strategy into what I'm doing to solve some of my toughest challenges.
If you want to make more profits and have better customer satisfaction, it goes across any industry.
Yeah. So let's dive in. I'm going to start firing away.
Right.
And let's get you a little bit close. There you go. All right. Can I hear you now?
Yeah. You weren't hearing me before?
Yeah, now I can. Perfect.
Okay.
Let me get this. All right. So first off, just so people get a better understanding of who you are and stuff like that, like what inspired you to focus on increasing fixed ops, sales and profits?
When I started selling automotive products to dealers on the street, me knocking on doors, we were all at the time, myself and all my competitors, we were focused on selling products, bottles, yep. Right? So we would go into a dealership, we would try to sell a bottle of something. What I realized quickly is that they really didn't care about the bottle. They cared about the programs that came attached to the bottle. So right. What they wanted was, look, how are you going to get my guys to sell this so that we can make more profits, which was something new to me, because I kind of thought, and dealerships have their own training program, but it was very interesting that everywhere that I went, and I'm talking 31 years ago, everybody was talking about, what are you going to do? You, this outside vendor, what are you going to do to train my people to get me to make more money? And so I quickly realized that we were really becoming business partners. We were becoming partners and consultants on how to make profits and how we could get the dealership to make more profits. So I switched. In fact, the program that today is used by us and by most of our competitors was really created by me and my marketing team way back when, which is we did program selling. We decided, okay, we're not selling the bottle. We're really selling how we're going to make you more profits. And that was kind of the shift, was, fixed op managers, fixed op directors saying, everything sounds great, but how are you going to get these guys to sell more?
It's funny you say that. Before, and here's a shameless plug, before J&L became the leading the best performing digital marketing agency. All they did was direct mail. And I remember I was in a presentation, pitch, whatever we want to call it, once with a guy that used to run a lot of huge offsite shows. So back then it was early 90s, it was all direct mail, right? And he kept saying, Scott, I will never be able to get anybody to buy this direct mail piece for this price. I said, that's because you keep trying to sell it as a direct mail piece. That's not what this program is. And it really wasn't. I said, this is an automotive success system. The mail alone doesn't make it work. I said,
Yeah,
you got to
that's
follow.
right.
It's like making a cake, right? It has a recipe. I can't just put sugar in the oven and have a great cake. So,
Yeah, we,
yeah,
we started calling it complete automotive maintenance programs,
yeah.
right? It was no longer about the bottle. It was about this other stuff that they needed.
So before we get into some of the specifics and run through the process that I mentioned earlier, what are some of how does your company, so let's say you did go into a dealership, right? How does your company approach a problem solving situation for a dealership if they're looking to fix it? So you said you're looking for ways to show them how to make more money.
Right.
So
So we go in and we sit down and talk to them about effective labor rates. How do we increase the effective labor rate?
yeah,
How do we penetrate the existing customers more? So without bringing another customer in, the existing customer base, how do we penetrate more and sell more of what they need? Not sell them something they don't need, but we have so many missed opportunities. We actually go through dealers and look at the missed opportunities. I think the average is somewhere around 82, 84% missed opportunities. So 8 out of 10 cars are coming to the dealership. There's something that car needed that the service advisor missed.
yeah.
And so we point that out.
What do you believe are the key traits, necessary skills for success when it comes to fixed ops?
Fixed up department or fixed up person or service advisor?
I think the people that are working in the fixed ops department at the dealership.
So the people that are working in the fixed op, we'll just focus on service advisors. They have to
Yeah.
be people. They have to be people persons, right? So they have to be able to have the ability charismatically to communicate and talk to a customer. They do not need to know automotive. They do not need to know mechanics. I mean, all of that helps, but they don't need to know that. They just have to have a charismatic personality that they're able to communicate to the customers what the customer needs. And if you can find people that have the right personality, you can train them, you can teach them, we can train them and all these other things. And you're going to have not only great profits, but great CSI.
All right, so let's dive right into this mastermind process. All right, so let's pretend you and I are working for the same dealership, right? And one of the things that we might come right out of the gate is, what are the top 3 biggest challenges, barriers, obstacles, whatever we want to call them, that keep us, and let's say our goal is we want to increase fixed ops revenue 15%, sales and profit. All right. So what would be the top, in your opinion, you see this a lot, what would be the top 3 biggest obstacles, barriers, or challenges that are keeping dealers from accomplishing that goal?
Well, I'll say the excuses, because some of these are not necessarily barriers. We can overcome them. But the 3 excuses you're going to hear a lot are going to be this: I don't have enough technicians. I don't have enough bay time, right? And my service advisors are already busy. They're packed. They have cars waiting for them to get to them. Those are probably going to be, and it kind of wraps up all in time. When we get there, we realize that they have more time than they realize, right? So those are the 3 things I would say. I don't have enough technicians. I don't have enough bay space, and my advisors are already overloaded.
Yeah. So what's great is I remember back when we did the business bourbons, I think it was 3. I believe it was 3, and one of our topics, I believe, it's a while ago. So one of our topics, I believe, was how do we increase fixed ops revenue without adding more base, which goes right to your second one. But all right, so out of those 3, all right, if we had to identify one that we could fix right here, right now, find a solution for on this show, all right, which one would have the greatest impact in helping us accomplish our goal of the 15% growth in sales and profits for fixed?
Teaching the service advisors to look for the missed opportunities when a vehicle comes in. That actually solves them all. Okay, so if we're talking about time, think about this. If a service advisor sees 20 cars a day, and
So you're just so we're clear, so the audience knows, right? So what you're basically saying is the biggest challenge, obstacle, barrier that they have is the fact that uh, their service advisors are not trained to the
to look
level
for,
they need to be.
that's correct. So you can be a service advisor or you can be an order taker. And unfortunately, especially with the labor situation we have today in the US, some of these are order takers. That means that a customer comes in and says, my radio isn't working. And the service advisor goes, oh, you have 30,000 miles, it's still under warranty. We'll get that for you fixed for free. The shuttle bus is over there. We didn't even look. Do they need tire rotation? Do they need an oil change? Do they need all these other things? Right. So when it comes to time management, so now we have an order taker, not a service advisor, that a customer came in and said, I have this warranty issue. The order taker only addressed the warranty issue and sends the car to the back of the shop. Now a technician has to go find the car, bring the car into the shop, and address the radio issue. Once they address the radio issue, the car goes back. Technician has to go get another car. That back and forth, finding cars and moving cars and bringing cars in, is dead time. But if that order taker would have been a service advisor and said, this car not only needs to get the radio fixed under warranty, but by the way, you need an oil change, you need tire rotations, you need alignment, you need fuel injection service, whatever that car needs. Now the car comes in and you're using the technician's time more wisely, and you're getting more out of the technician and the advisor and giving your customer better service. That customer is going to leave and get those tires, rotations, alignment, fuel injection service somewhere else. But they could have had it done there.
So let's take it a step back real quick. For you, and you see this a lot, right? So if a company's trying to follow this process on their own, whether it's a dealership or in any other industry, before they can sit there and say, if we solve this one issue, which in this case is we've got to train our service advisors better. How did you root cause to get to that, to be able to identify this out of all the ones, this is the one that needs to, what made you come to that? Did you do any type of root cause analysis with that, or
dollars per RO, average dollars per RO, penetration of product per car, and missed opportunities? And we do we ourselves do all of that when we go into a dealership. So let's pull up some ROs. Here's a car that had 30,000 miles. At 30,000 miles, they needed this, and this. And the order taker, not service advisor, only did this.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's add all that up. So the dollars per RO is less. Okay. The customer may or may not be satisfied. I would say not, because they really didn't get a service done. They just got questions answered to whatever the problem was. And then the dollars that we missed would have been straight, gross profit that would have came in on the same customer on the same vehicle. So one person touching it versus several people touching it. So that's what I look at, dollars per RO. Dollars per RO.
All right. So let's say we're on this executive team. We're in this business, right? We've identified that because we did a root cause analysis, teaching our service advisors, they need to be trained better. That is our number. If we could solve that, that's going to have the biggest impact. So now my question becomes, before we can solve that issue, right, and figure out the best way to train them, why is that a barrier or obstacle? What are some of the, whether they're excuses, reasons, what are some of the reasons that's not being currently done? If that's something that could have such a big impact, why isn't it being done?
Because they're going to tell you that they're too busy. Cars are lined up. They don't have time to sell. So they're going to tell you that the service advisor has 3 cars backed up. He doesn't have time to walk around the car, check the mileage, look for recalls, do all the proper things to service that customer and increase gross profits. And although that is true, the cars are backed up and people are coming to dealership and fixed stop is better than it's ever been. We do have, and I always tell people all the time, you have a minute or two to go through that car, do a walk around, look at the tires, pop the hood, look at the mileage, pick up a menu and go, hey, at 30,000 miles, we recommend these maintenance services for you.
Yeah.
And if you're not selling on a typical, I think the average 30K maintenance should be $800. So on average, not counting repairs, there should be on a typical 30K, $800 worth of maintenance services for a typical car in our dealers today. So if the car came in and said, I just want tire rotations, why don't we sell them alignments? If a car comes in and says, I need an oil change, did they need a fuel injection service, or the transmission fluid changed, or the radiator service changed, or anything else changed? We have a tendency today, due to the labor force, that all we're doing is customers come in and they say, look, I need this. The person says, great, thanks. Sign here, take the shuttle bus, or wait for the car, and they move on to the next one. We have the time. We have 2 minutes per car to spend with the customer to increase our sales. You'd be surprised how much money is left on the table. And again, that's selling something that the customer doesn't need. The customer needs it. We just don't sell it.
So, but if I'm a dealer and you're coming to me and you're selling to me, and I say, Arnold, I hear you. I know my guys need better training. I know they're lacking in that. They don't have the time. All right. How do you solve that? How do you handle that issue?
So our company gives a 30-day guarantee. So what we do is we say, okay, give us 30 days. Let us do this training. I know it's going to be hurtful for you. We want to train your advisors after hours. Most companies will train advisors during the day. We do not do that.
Okay.
We want to train the advisors.
Yep. Do you ever get any pushback on that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. People, advisors, managers or fixed ops go, well, I can't keep my guys 2 hours after work. They've been working 12-hour days, and then they're going to want to get paid and blah, blah, blah. We won't do a deal unless they let us train the advisors after hours. Why? Because if I'm telling you, you don't have to sign a contract, and I'm guaranteeing you that I'm going to move that needle, give you better effective labor rate, and give you better gross, then I need their undivided attention. That's real training, not Mickey Mouse training, not getting the brochure during the middle of the day and walking to a service advisor stall and going, oh, by the way, our fuel injection does this or this does that. That's not training. Training is, I need your undivided attention. There are no phones being answered, no managers coming in, nobody's walking in saying the customer's waiting for a car. I have your undivided attention, and we're going to be able to talk about how to address customers. When we do our training class, 75% of our training has nothing to do with Petra. Petra is the last 25% of our training. You know how we start our training out? We have this room full of advisors or order takers maybe, and we ask them these questions. Do you work for a profit or nonprofit organization? That's how we start our training. Yeah. And you would be surprised the answers we get. People look around the room.
The last 3 years, it's all been profit, but sometimes prior to that, you might have had a few.
But they don't raise their profit because of the variable side too. And fix has been good too. Don't get me wrong. But the service advisors, you would be surprised how many times they look at each other and go, like,
well, Arnold,
profit or non-profit?
I don't know if you're seeing this or not around, but the last 3 years, while everyone's been making great money, selling a lot of used cars and doing well on the new cars they've had, right? The reality is the volume of new cars has not been there because of inventory challenges. So are you starting to see that catching up to stores like across the board? We are seeing fixed ops starting to feel that impact of 3 years of lower volume new car sales. Because let's face it, the majority of the customers that came in were all under warranty. But if you're selling less of those, at some point that's going to start to fall off.
Yeah, absolutely. So just so you know, so this is JD Power's survey. If a customer comes to a dealership under warranty and you do not sell them something outside the warranty, when the warranty period is over, 82% of them will not come back to the dealership and will go somewhere else for their maintenance. They'll go to a tire shop, they'll go to a quick lube, they'll go somewhere else. So it is vital that during the warranty period, we establish a relationship with the consumer, that we are the maintenance people, that we are the place for oil changes, that we are the place for tire changes, that we are that place. They don't have to go anywhere else. And because sometimes we use that excuse that we're so busy and we don't have any time and we become order takers, what happens is what you're talking about.
Yeah. So, we had a comment back here. I want to bring it back up. First off, $1 Million name, maybe because it reminds me of Richie Rich, but it's Ricky Rich. So I love it. And I think this is going back to what he was talking about in terms of how to train the advisors and what to say. And what he's basically saying, you got to have the right verbiage to teach. I think what he means the clients so they can talk to to their prospect or potential or their customer while they're there. Is that yeah?
Yeah. So we in our training class again, and I'm sure many training classes out there, we teach the advisor how to use the right terminology when they're talking to a consumer. Don't talk over their head. Don't talk under it. Talk directly to them and use certain verbiages, right? So as an example, we're talking about fuel injection and why fuel injection service is needed. We'll use analysis like, have you ever popped a firecracker? If you throw a firecracker on concrete and explodes, what happens? You see that black residue after it exploded. That's happening in your engine thousands of times a day, right? So that carbon builds up and it sucks the gas, reduces the fuel injection, reduces the power, et cetera, blah, blah, blah. So we use terminology that clients get, that consumers get. That's part of training. Training is not just,
It's so funny. I drive my daughter to school every day, and there's a local car commercial on, and I'm not going to bring up names, but I'm in the marketing business, so I pay attention to this stuff, and lo and behold, every single morning I have to hear this radio commercial because I listen to talk radio. So I'm listening to this radio commercial, and there's about 3 different spots they run, right? The first one, and I'm going to circle back to what you just said, talking in the customer's language, not your own. But the first thing he's doing, he's running commercials about how it's rock bottom interest rates and how it's hard to find a dealership open. So clearly this commercial was cut back right at the start of COVID when everybody was closed down, and he continues to run it and not update it. It literally is not relevant.
3 years later, nobody's figured that out.
Yeah, he keeps running it. It's interest rates are not rock bottom anymore, and every dealership's open. So, but then the next thing he talks about the ease of buying online, except he doesn't use that terminology. He talks about, internet sales is where it's at. Internet sales, that's a dealership talking to their own people and talking amongst themselves. That's insider language, right? That's the customer. It's not where it's at for the customer.
No.
It's what online shopping and research does for the customer. That's their verbiage that they care about. So when I hear that, I'm like, gosh, who writes this copy? Michael Porro, he's been commenting away, and I'm going to bring up a couple of his comments. One of the reasons I invited Michael, and you know him very well, one of the reasons I invited him on the show a couple years ago was it was his commercial. It's very clear. It's very easy to understand. He's not the hero. And I quote Donald Miller a little bit on that. He's not the hero of that story. The client is the hero of the story, and he just gives them a little guidance along the way. And he articulates it very clear. You do this, you do this, you do this. It's that fast. We do it your way. It's simple.
Michael would be the right guy for that. And it's not rocket science, right? We tend to make this rocket science. It's not rocket science. It's built. The advisor is, like the salesperson in the front end is building a relationship with that customer to buy that first car. And if he builds the relationship right, he will get subsequent cars to come. In the back end, the service advisor is building a relationship with the consumer. If they build that relationship, that person will come back to him all the time, every month, every year, whenever he needs it, because he trusts that person.
So, we had, it was funny. We had Jason Rice, who, if you don't know him, you'll meet him at our leadership retreat in March. But he was talking about how a lot of people don't do anything until they're desperate or have to do it, right? And that day is coming quickly on the fixed op side, I believe. So all the talk about I don't have time, when all of a sudden business goes down, we have to find solutions and figure things out. So all right, teaching our service advisors, training them is priority number 1 to help us accomplish the goal that we mentioned earlier, increasing sales and profits and fixed ops. We've identified that one of the reasons that a lot of dealerships don't do it, whether it's true or not, they don't have the time to do it. So the first suggestion and solution you actually offered on that.
I don't have time.
Correct. Whether it's true or not. So, and regardless, even if it's true, it still has to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if we've identified this is the number 1 thing that could have the biggest impact on increasing sales and profit, then whether we have time or not, we have to solve that issue. And so you came up with one suggestion already to solve that. First off, we got to get buy-in from our team, right? And one of those suggestions was, well, let's not train during the work hours. So can we get commitment to that? So let's assume that if that happens, then we can move on to the next action steps that someone would need to take. But let's hold off before we go there. Man, let's say I'm a horrible leader. I was not persuasive enough. All right. And I'm struggling getting buy-in to do this after hours. What's the action step in that situation?
Well, listen, if good leaders are going to demand certain things, right? And it's not that that you're going to be mean or forceful or dictatorship. It's just going to be, look, our company is going to do this training, and you're required to be there. And it kind of, a good leader can kind of move everybody into that direction. Having said that, when you're not that well respected or that good of a leader, then you're going to have that pushback. And so what we suggest is that they get paid. And so we told them, look, pay them for the 2 hours they're going to be there. We're going to buy dinner too. So you're going to pay them for their hour, for the 2 hours there, and we're going to give them a good dinner, not pizza, but a good dinner. And then quickly into the training, at least our training, we make it so much fun that they forget that it really becomes a good thing. Everybody's going to get there upset that they're there after hours. But in our training, at least within the first 15, 20 minutes, we really have fun and people start really get into it. It's an interactive training. It can't just be us up there speaking. So we really get the crowd in. Like we will ask questions like, are you a service advisor or an order taker? And then as we go along the description, the definition of each, the crowd will go, oh, that guy's an order taker. Or we'll go around the room and go, are you an order taker or service advisor? And the person will say, well, I'm a service advisor. And somebody else would jump in, you're not a service advisor, you're an order taker. And it becomes fun, right? But you got to get them there for that to become fun. So good leaders usually have a way to inspire their people to show up and say, look, this is what's going to happen. You need to be here. Those that are not at that level yet, we're going to have to encourage them by saying, look, let's pay these people 2 hours to show up, or give them some kind of incentive to be there. We're going to buy food and then we're going to make it fun. And then we'll work our way to it. But you are right. Some people do push back, and you're going to need a good leader to say, look, this is what we're doing.
First off, Arnold paid you a nice compliment. He says you're going to be doing business with him here this month. So did you guys already set something up?
We are. Yes.
Nice. Perfect.
We've already spoken.
But he does a great comment here based on what you just said. If you're a horrible leader, and this is coming through LinkedIn, if you're a horrible leader, you're not a leader.
Correct. Correct. I might have been trying to be a little bit nice, but Mike is, Michael is Michael, and he's going to tell you what.
That's awesome. All right. So then step 2 is we've got to make this engaging, fun, whatever we've got to do to get full buy-in, but more importantly, so they're focused and paying attention and not just going through the motion.
Change, right? Sometimes fixed managers get in this. This is the way I've been doing it. This is how I've been doing it for years. This is blah, 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 blah. And they don't realize that they're leaving gross profits on the table. Again, not gross profits for things that people don't need, but things that people need. Right. I mean, look, I can't tell you how many times that I don't sell tires. I'm just telling you, I can't tell you how many times I've been in a dealership. Nobody looks at those tires, and they sell tires.
So let's talk about the client experience. I'm glad you just said that. There are things that clients, it is our job. There's also safety issues that could be involved when you talk about things, but it's also about, I don't want to have to come back. I was just there. So why wasn't this now? Why didn't somebody take care of this when I was already there or bring it up? Right. And so I bring this up because that reminds me of a story. We do a lot of service events. We do a lot of recall events, and a lot of those are run through various OEMs. This is about 15 years ago. All right. We're doing service clinics, bringing people back in that are either inactive and or have a foot out the door at risk. And we've identified those people. So we're going to offer them a nice inspection, completely free, just to let them know, where they're at, right? Run the report, and we start getting some complaints from the OEM because we were bringing clients back, the at-risk ones. All right. There was data is not perfect. All right. There's no 100% accuracy. So there might be a few of them that, all right, maybe they came in a week ago But when we ran the data 3 weeks ago, they were inactive or had a foot out the door. All right. So let's say that customer comes in and we sit there and say, well, this customer's upset because they were in a week ago and they're telling us why, how come all this wasn't wrong then? Well, it was. And my theory is, guys, are we really upset at the fact first off, we have an opportunity here to teach and train our dealer, the dealerships participating in this program. It's frustrating for clients. Why are we getting upset that we've identified problems if they were in a week ago, why weren't they discussed then? They didn't just magically appear. So really the client experience is bad, not because we brought them in and identified a situation. It's that they were here and we didn't identify the situation, to your point, why they were conveniently here and give them the option of handling it then.
And if you would have told them, even if they wouldn't have bought, if you would have told them and later
Correct.
they get any kind of mailer or reminded of what they need, they'll remember he told me.
Correct.
And I didn't do it. Right?
That is correct. Yeah. But when you don't, to me, I'm just like, I'm frustrated because let's face it, convenience, saving time, producing less effort as a consumer is appealing to a lot of people. There's a reason people pay $13, $14 for a pint of ice cream now to have it delivered to their door. During COVID, I gained 20 pounds just ordering ice creams. So, but I just don't get that. And so, all right. So now we got buy-in, we're teaching. What are some of the key things that have to be taught? So if the goal here is to increase our sales and our profits, all right, now, and we've identified training, what are the key things that have to be trained on in order for us to accomplish our goal? What are those action steps that we have to hit on, and we have to make sure these advisors are great at it?
Got to do a walk around. Customer comes in, regardless of what the customer, listen to the customer, listen to what the problem is. In addition to that, you must do a walk around. You have to take, not only for service, but most good dealerships want to write down the damage on the vehicle, if there's a scratch, a dent, right? Because you're going to get blamed for it later if you don't do it. So you need to do a walk around for many reasons, but one of those reasons is to inform your customer of the other things that are needed that they may not be aware of, right? When you go to a doctor and he gets a blood work, it's because he can't tell what's going on inside your body. The blood work will tell him, okay, here's where everything's at. This is what we now have to do. So when the customer comes into the service drive, the advisor has to be the doctor, walk around that vehicle, check the tires, check the fluid, check the mileage, check if there's a recall, and then assess what's going on and tell the consumer, here is what you need to do. Here is what we need to do for your car, for your problem, for your complaint, for the repair, and to maintain and keep your vehicle running right. And listen, consumers love it. Even if they don't buy it at that moment, they love the fact that somebody spent time to tell them what that vehicle needs. Okay, most will buy it at the time because they don't want downtime either. They're thinking in their head.
Oh, you're frozen on me, Arnold.
You there? Am I here?
Oh, there you are. You froze on me for a little bit there.
Sorry.
Did you pay your internet bill? Let's start
did.
there.
I just paid it yesterday when I found out I was going to be on the show.
So that I started paying. Sandy Cerami is a frequent guest on here, and so back when we started doing a lot of shows together, his would always freeze out, and I just started paying his internet bill for him because
well, pay mine. It's great.
Yeah, send me that. All right, so let me back up just a little bit. When you're getting buy-in, you brought up a lot of numbers that support why the training and where the missed opportunities are. And that was one of my questions. Where are the missed opportunities? And do you explain those missed opportunities prior to the training maybe in a way to try and persuade people to buy into why they need the training? Because they're all the money they're potentially leaving.
Opportunities to the service advisors and the training in general, right? Our training is we try to take our training to be positive, informative, teaching moment, uplifting moment, get them fired up and excited, versus get a 2x4 and hit them over the head for what they did right? So I don't look too much of what they did in the past. I focus more on what we're going to do moving forward. However,
Right.
before I got to that service training, I sat with the service manager and went through that. That's more of a, I wouldn't say a 2x4, but that's more of a opening eyes. Hey, look, I mean, you had 100 cars come in here, 50 of them need an oil change, and you never mentioned it.
Yeah.
Right? A simple thing, right? You never mentioned it.
Yeah.
It's not hard, right? And customers know they need an oil change, and you just let it go by.
Yeah.
And I know there's not much gross profit in an oil change, but when you're fixing the radio and adding the oil change, now it begins to add up.
Yeah. All right.
So
So what other steps then? All right. So what other steps throughout this training? I guess if you had to get an outline, you're doing training right now. So this is I feel like this is an easy mastermind for you to talk on. So would be some of the other steps to help these stores integrate some of these things that would be part of our solution and our action steps?
are you talking about what we're going to say in the training, or you're saying
Yeah. If you had to kind of outline it a little
Yeah.
bit.
So in the training, we're going to talk about, okay, so we start off with, is this a profit or non-profit organization? The first thing we want to make sure is that everybody understands this is a business. This is not a church. It is not a charity. We are here for profits, and we're here to do a service to the customer. So let's make sure that we're all on this page. Then we're going to talk about service advisors versus order takers. Order takers typically do not realize they're in a for-profit business, and they're typically not oriented to give better customer service. Order takers are, hey, I make $40,000 a year. I live in my one-bedroom apartment. I drive my Honda Civic. Leave me alone. That's an
Yeah.
order taker. Service
Why does
advisor,
it got to be a Honda? Why does it have to be a
or
Honda?
whatever car. Oh, yeah, whatever car. So, but a service advisor wants to give the customer an experience that the customer will come back, that they feel good about. They want to increase sales. They want to make sure they penetrate the sales in the vehicle, and they probably have ambitions to become a service manager or something else. So there's the definition. So we talk about the definition of the two, and the team will weed out right there. They'll tell you who's who. Okay. Then we'll go into how to approach a customer and build a relationship with the customer, right? So it doesn't matter what kind of day you're having. If a customer comes in, it needs to be go, 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 right? We talk about acknowledging customers. Okay, you talk about you have a line of customers waiting. Acknowledge every single one. Ma'am, I'll be right with you. I'm finishing up with this customer. Sir, you're right behind the lady. You know what I mean? Acknowledging them, because when you acknowledge them, the clock stops ticking. But if they're waiting there and nobody's acknowledging them, it's a time bomb waiting, and you're not going to be able to sell anything, because by the time you get to them, even if it took 10 minutes to get to them, they're upset because in their mind it took 45 minutes. But if you acknowledge them, the clock stops ticking. Then we talk about communication, how to communicate to customer, the verbiage that one of the people was talking about, how to be able to talk to customers about what they need.
Yeah.
We
and
also
why you're saying it that way.
Right. And why you're saying it that way, right? We also talk to use certain verbiage, as in the sense of, you don't say, ma'am, your car needs radiator service. It's $200. I know it's a lot of money, and you just came in here for an oil change, but I thought I'd ask you, do you want one or not? Right? You're not going to sell. You're not building a relationship, and that's terrible. But if you go, ma'am or sir, I know you only came in here for an oil change, but I noticed that your vehicle has 30,000 miles. 30,000 miles, we recommend a radiator service to be done. I don't know if you know this, but the Department of Transportation says the number one reason why cars break down on the highway for mechanical failure is cooling system service. Look, as long as you're here, let's get this done. It's only $200. That's how you sell a service, right? Now the consumer has some information. Even if they don't buy it, they can go back and Google it, Department of Transportation, blah, blah, blah. Oh my God, the guy was saying the right thing. Next time they come, they're going to buy it from you. Right? What did that take me? 15 seconds? So 15 seconds to educate the consumer on a service they needed is going to get you to buy in. So now we turn that oil change service, that $80 oil change, into a $280 service, right? The consumer feels better. They got what they needed, and we made more gross.
Right.
Those are the kind of verbiage that we talk to the advisors about. We also talk to them about just talking to customers, right? There's a whole write-up on McDonald's. McDonald's taught 15 people how to increase business by over 17%. So back in the 70s, they came up with the training class that said, "Would you like?" Right? So you would go to McDonald's and buy whatever, a hamburger. Would you like fries? Would you like to supersize it? Would you like 3 cookies for $1? That increased business by 70%. Same customers without building any other
Correct.
buildings, just by telling people, "Would you like?" Well, that's what we
Yes.
do in our service advisor class. We got to
Yeah.
train these people to talk to consumers and say, "Would you like? Here's what your
And
cars
that
need. Would you like it?"
you're telling a true story. So first off, if you've ever eaten at McDonald's, they all do that. A lot of people don't know. I worked at McDonald's for a week and a half. That was my first real job.
I did not know that,
Yeah.
but the week and a half
I
sounds right.
well, it does. I was fine with it. There are two situations that stopped me. And the second one, I feel I'm going to be honest with the audience. It's horrible that I'm about to say it. The first situation is it was a Friday night and I'm serving burgers and making them back there. And by the way, when you work McDonald's and you're working that grill, there is no, while the burger's cooking and you've maybe got 15 seconds before you've got to flip, there is no standing there for the 15 seconds waiting. While that 15 seconds, you're wiping, you're cleaning. And there's constantly managers telling you, hey, while this thing's cooking, you need to be cleaning this. You need to be, there's never a moment of just standing around. At least that's what they teach you. But that's not what did it. A Friday night, I'm out there and, I'm in high school. All my friends come rolling in, ordering their burgers, having their fun. And I'm serving them, right? So, or making them. But what got me was early the next week was when they said, well, now it's time. We're going to teach you how to clean the restroom. And I thought to myself, I'm thinking to myself, this is my last day. I said, it is horrible. I was like, I don't even clean the restroom at home. I'm not going to clean everybody else's. I'm not doing this. So I was certain things grossed me out. I'm like a germaphobe.
Is that when you took your name badge pin and said, "Here you go, I'm out"?
No, I didn't do it like that. Because I would have been too ashamed to do it like that. But the next day I called in. I said, I think I'm done.
Yeah.
No one told me in the interview. No one told me in the interview that was an expectation, by the way. I always assumed, I don't know why, I just always assumed they had somebody that was their job.
In their mind, they probably said, "Did we tell you it wasn't going to be him?
Yeah.
Did we exclude it?" Yeah. So, but we talk about things like that, right? It's just a matter. Even a recall, we tell people how to answer the phone, right? If you can right now pick up your phone when we're through with this, just pick 5 dealers and call the service department. I guarantee you 3 out of 5 will say this: service. We teach them how to answer the phone. "Hi, my name is Arnold Gacita. What's your name?" "Name is Scott." "How can I help you, Scott?" "How much is an oil change?" "Well, Scott, I don't know if you know, but we've been in business for blah, 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 blah. I've been in the company for this much. We're involved in this." And you build up your organization while you're looking up this vehicle. Before you talk to them about price, is there a recall? Because the number one way to get a customer into that dealership is a recall.
You froze
So
again.
find out if there's a recall. Use it to your advantage.
There you are.
Are you
You
losing me
froze a
again?
little bit again. No, you're back. You're back now.
How do we know it's my internet and not yours?
Because this is J&L Marketing here, buddy. We don't mess around. All right.
Okay.
Our sponsor doesn't mess around. J&L Marketing, the sponsor, doesn't mess around with the Wi-Fi. All right. But I will say the reason I brought up the McDonald's thing, all right, originally was because they did teach that to would you like to supersize? It's always the upsell and the question, the way they phrase it, and they do it on every single thing. And that is such an important thing that you brought up. And it's just the verbiage. It's just taking that little bitty thing. Also, a friend of mine from high school, he was one of the guys that came into the McDonald's and ordered the food. But this is a true story, right? What he's put up here. We worked together at a car wash, Shell gas station. Shell is now a client, by the way. So that's how I networked and built those relationships. Started back in 1986.
Okay.
But yeah, we worked there for 7 weeks. And he is right. I strategically evaded restroom cleaning. So
Now we know.
yeah. All right. So we've built out this process, and part of what makes a good mastermind group, like when you have a bunch of people right at the table. And when I say 7, I think the perfect amount is right around that 7, 8, maybe no more than 10 people at a table. And all of a sudden they're hearing all these things you're saying, right? And all of a sudden you've got John over here, Traver or somebody like that, that's saying, you know what? I work with 1,000, 2,000 stores. And I'm going to tell you right now, here's another issue I see with this. And I see some of the stores doing this. And all of a sudden, you guys start talking. And then the ideas go, it's almost like 1 + 1 = 3, you know, and instead of 2. And so I love watching that dynamic. Alex brought up something earlier, and I put it up, but I forgot to talk about it. Such an easy thing, because we always talk in about client experience, where Alex, he's coming in from LinkedIn. We're streaming live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. So throw up your comments and questions. You know, his dealer, he must have taken a car and failed 100% by not washing the car after service. Such a simple thing. But also, right to the point we made earlier, not pointing out a state inspection.
I mean, how easy is that?
Correct. Here they are. It is so many simple things that can be done just by going it's not even an extra step.
Think about that comment right there. So we talk about there's no time, right? So that walk around the car, sir, that you notice your state inspection is up. We can get that taken care of as long as you're here, and keep walking. That took 3 seconds. 3 seconds. Yeah.
So Alex happens to be an expert in Wi-Fi. So I do appreciate this, Alex. He says that Arnold's Wi-Fi, it's not Scott's, because Arnold is the one freezing, but it could be Arnold, because I know the growth that you guys have had over. It could be that you've reached your bandwidth, and it's time.
Maybe we'll have Alex check it out after this.
So, all right. So we're walking through these solutions, right? And part of a great mastermind group. And by the way, part of a great mastermind group, when we do this, it's not like we're sitting people there all from the same dealership or same company. They're coming from different industries.
Different industries.
They're coming
in the mix.
Correct. And I think that's part of what makes it great. So let me ask you this question. So we've laid out this stuff, but now it's, what are we measuring? What are the metrics that we're going to measure, and how do we determine if we're successful?
So penetration, dollars per RO, and penetration are going to be the key figure, right? Gross profit is easy. So in the last 30 days before we got here, you made X gross profit. And now in these 30 days, you've made this gross profit, right? So that's easy. This number to that number, and that's an easy number. And we blow that away. Remember, we do a 30-day guarantee. And then the other measure is penetration. We want to penetrate at least 70% of the vehicles coming in with some kind of maintenance products. 70% of the vehicles coming in, minimal, must have some kind of maintenance product in it, right, and then dollars per RO.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, and all of that will equate, because this is all customer pay, right? This is CP. All of that will equate to a jump on your effective labor rate.
All right. So I got to bring up, Alex has my sense of humor. He's got to become a regular on this show. He says all your employees are on Netflix. That's why your Wi-Fi is struggling while you're on with me. So it's funny.
Hey, we got a great culture here. We let them look at Netflix sometimes.
Let's talk a little bit. Let's shift gears a little bit. What kind of major changes or trends do you see coming in fixed ops, or let's go back. What kind of changes have you seen in recent years? And then we'll talk about what's going to happen here. What do you see on the horizon? So in the last few years, what kind of changes have you seen?
Look, I mean, the changes that I've seen is more people buying online, right? I think we've all seen that. I think there is, I think there's more of buying online and the vehicles being delivered to the customer's home and bypassing the dealership building all by itself. So the trend
that goes on fixed ops too.
It does, but I will tell you this, because of warranty, okay, because that car that was delivered is under warranty, it is going to come back to the dealership for X period of time. So
but my question is this: are you seeing an impact or an increase, I should say, in pickup and drop-offs and or even mobile, like, our good friend Ed Roberts, I think he's got up to like 12 trucks now doing mobile service work. And a lot of that warranty stuff can be done through that, especially the real early stuff.
Limited amount, though. Some of the warranty
Correct.
stuff does have to come back to the dealership, but that's where
Right.
the pickup comes in, right? And Wes Spence
Yep.
out of Waxahachie, he has a great program on that as well. So he'll
Yep.
pick up the vehicle at the customer's house, bring it to the dealership, get it serviced, bring it back. Fixed op in every economic downturn or upturn is always strong. It's a great little niche market, right? The variable side flexes a little bit more, but typically fixed op, if it's a good run dealership, is strong. And like NADA says, it really needs to be, it needs to absorb the dealership in that fixed op department. So
Yep.
the trends that I see is that we are doing more mobile. We are doing more picking up the customer and bringing them back. But I see the dealership fixed up departments growing. I actually see the variable side slightly shrinking because we're going to do more online custom car ordering in the future. But the dealership fixed up is still there. It's still servicing the customer for the warranty, whether the customer is bringing the car or the dealer is picking it up and bringing it. And in that period, if we do a good job of capturing the customer, we will continue on to do the maintenance.
All right.
Okay. We will continue to do the maintenance. Customers have no problem. I know we talk about the price of the dealership and the price versus another shop or whatever. Listen, customers have no problem. You were talking about ice cream. You're paying 5 times the amount for ice cream to be delivered to your house. Customers have no problem paying for something as long as they know they're getting the service. You have certified technicians. You're the OEM approved repair shop. You are the one that sold them the vehicle. There are all these reasons why they want to do business with you if you give them that opportunity. Now, if you close the door on each one, then they're not going to give you that opportunity. But in that warranty period, you have a period to capture.
You have a better opportunity.
You have a better opportunity to capture them, show you what your culture is, and have that relationship with them so that they come back to you for all of their maintenance services. So I see the service departments actually growing as the variable slightly gets shrunk a little bit.
It's interesting. On yesterday's show with Jason Rice from Lot Pop, he brought up something we sell digital marketing, a lot of digital marketing, because we've got a fixed ops solution there, our service combat strategy. So you're obviously saying things in terms, and you're educating dealers a lot on how people do things and how they're searching and stuff. Convenience is a big deal, right? And so you were going on and saying that it's not just about price. They'll still come back to you for all the reasons you mentioned. But a lot of times people don't come back to us because they're perceived that it's less convenient, or we don't understand when the convenience thing starts, which is usually online. We hear a rattle, we get a service light comes on, whatever, a notification, whatever it is. And the first thing they do, especially if they're outside warranty, is they pull up their phone and they search oil change near me, service center, whatever it might be, right? And so the convenient thing for them are going to be those first 3 to 4 people they see when they do that search. And so the convenience starts with how convenient are you to find? But here's what Jason said that I found shocking. And I don't know if anybody's even talking about that, especially with this new generation. So this new generation, his son had bought a car, and it was time to get his oil changed. And he asked Dad, he goes, where do I get my oil changed? And he says, well, why would you go to the dealership? And he goes, they change oil?
Right.
The younger generation, Arnold, think about this for a second. They've grown up more than any generation on that phone and doing nothing but searches. Search oil change near me and see how many dealers you see. You'll see 0. Because they can't afford.
Because that wasn't their focus.
They can't afford. It's too generic of a term. They can't afford to sit there and buy spend money on a search term of oil change near me. Now, there are ways around that where you can outsmart and outmarket a Jiffy Lube, let's say. All right. Someone that's got hundreds of thousands of dollars a month being sent. That there's a reason the Jiffy Lubes of the world always come up on those searches, the Valvolines, the Jiffy Lubes, right? It's because they're spending a lot of money and they can afford to do it on those searches. So dealers have to be smarter about it, and there are ways to do it. But I thought that was interesting because here you've got a whole generation that doesn't even know.
But it's 100% true. But I'm gonna add a little caveat to that. If that young person bought a vehicle at your dealership and came back to your dealership for any reason under warranty,
yep,
and he doesn't know you do an oil change, it's not technology, it's the people failed.
Yep.
Because we should have told him that
we're not educating them.
We didn't.
And that goes back, and we didn't give them back to the training.
I know we talk a lot about electronic menus and selling off electronics. Listen, that's great. Technology is phenomenal. But how great to give a printed menu to your customer that they put in the glove compartment that reminds them of all the services you do. So again, everybody that buys a car will probably have some kind of a warranty issue at some point. They come to your dealer. Your job is to tell them, entice them, show them everything you do and how great it is to do business with you. And they will come back. People buy from people they like. They will come back, even the young generation.
So this is a long comment, and I don't want to cover your face with it. So, but it's good, and I'll put it back up there real quick. Let's see. Here we go. So if you're more successful, your action strategy with dealers and clients is to help them with profits and client retention. Would it be great to help them offer a competitive oil change service, which is the service with shorter interval that brings clients more often in front of service advisors? The more service advisors interact with clients, the more opportunities they will have to upsell other services they may require without realizing it, which is aligning with what you're saying pretty much, correct?
Right.
Yeah. And then he followed up. There you go, Scott. Oil change is key service. Well, oil change is the key. Now that's going to change, obviously, as electric vehicles. It's going to take a while, but that's.
We say that. So, I mean, you heard the president from Toyota. He's saying it's not happening as fast as you think it's going to happen. The infrastructure is there. I agree with that. I don't, and not just because I'm in this business, but I know dealers who are trying to install EV charging stations that the electrical companies are saying we can't. Right. Yeah. So I'm not just saying it because I'm in this industry. I'm hearing from dealers that are saying it's just not happening. But regardless, some EVs, the transmission have fluids. The batteries have fluids that needs to be exchanged. They have brake services that need to be exchanged, or brake fluid needs to be exchanged. Talk about safety issues. They still have tires. I mean, there are things, not as much obviously as a combustion chamber engine, but there are things still in an EV that needs to be changed. And you want to talk about a dealership's potential? You really can't go get that car serviced anywhere else but a dealership. So, I mean, take that opportunity and get that customer in. The EV battery needs coolant exchanged. It's a special coolant. It's not the same coolant that you put in radiator. Brake service. Most vehicles today require the brake fluids be changed at 30,000 miles or less. EV vehicles have that. So there's a lot of things that you can still service on an EV vehicle.
Yeah. So let me ask you this question. So we've walked through, if training was the number one thing in your opinion that holds us back from doing what we really want to do in fixed ops, right? Why don't you share with us a specific success story? I'll make this the last question. Share with us a specific success story of a dealership who was able to increase sales and profit and fixed op based on some of the advice that you've given here today.
You in the name of the dealership?
Well, I mean, that's up to you. But you could talk about the situation and how it happened and what the impact was, I guess.
Look, I think every dealership that we've gotten, we've increased gross profits. We know what we do. And it is training. If you do not train the service, you can have the greatest product in the world, Scott, and you put it on a shelf. And if you don't have somebody selling that product, it's never going to move off that shelf. and then it
That's right.
becomes dead inventory, right? So we'll go to shops, we'll go into dealers sometimes where we actually see product with dust on it, right? It doesn't, we don't know if the product is good or bad. It's just never been sold, and it's because nobody trained the advisors. Or when they got that product, now they got a whole new crew of advisors. They don't even know that product is there. So training and continual training. We like to train dealers every 3 or 4 months. It's got to be continuing because people move, people change, focus gets out of whack. You have to continually bring everything back up for service advisors to be successful and dealerships to get that gross. But I'll give you the worst case scenario that we did. We did a dealership in California. I won't give you which one it was, but the worst case we did, we doubled the gross profits within 30 days by not doing anything else than just training service advisors. They didn't hire more and more advisor. There was no advertising done. All we did is meet with your service advisors one night for 2 hours, and in 30 days, they ran out of products, sold everything on the shelf, and we doubled their gross. That's the worst case scenario. It gets better from there.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Not because we did any magic potion, right? We just said, hey, Scott, did you know you have this? And this is how you talk to the customers about it. So now they were able to go to the customer and say, hey, did you know that we have this and we can do this? The McDonald's thing, right?
Let me ask you. So obviously lack of training, but what do you think when someone does it? And I said that was going to be the last question, but it made me think of something else. And combined with Michael's comment here. Let's go back to the scenario of, wow, we didn't tell them all the things that the car either that we noticed, when it was in. Why do you think, besides a lack of training, because even if you're trained, what causes a person to not want to tell someone? There's got to be this inner pressure on an advisor thinking, I don't want to act like I'm trying to tell them everything's wrong because I don't want them to think poorly of me because I'm just trying to make as much money as I can. I would imagine that's part of it.
So we go back to Michael's comment about leaders, right? You're either a good leader or you're not. If a fixed stop manager is content in the business that he has, and there's two different things, right? Because the owner may not be content and the owner may want more, but the fixed stop guy may be content. And I'm not saying, most good guys are not content. They want more and they want to outperform and show the owners that they're doing good. But if management is content, so will everybody below them. Yeah. If management does not want to deal with hiring the right people, they just want to have warm bodies in the service department that will just address the people, be order takers, write everything down, and point them to the shuttle bus. Nothing will change, and that's the way that business will change. It takes a manager that says, "I'm not happy where I'm at, and I want more. What do you think we need to do to get here?" We explain the process. He says, let's make the change, and change is hard for people. And you begin to do all these things and change happens, right? What's the old thing, right? If you keep doing the same old thing, the results are going to be the same old thing. Okay. So if you want a different result, you're going to have to change. That really starts at management. Management is the one that decides that. And I've had, again, we work with great service managers and fixed up guys. They want to kill it. They want to have the best service. They want to present the best products. They want to do the multi-point inspections like Michael's talking about. They just want to be the best in everything they do. But we've also worked with fixed op people that are like, look, I'm happy the way we are. This is the way we do it. I've been doing this for 30 years. And my service advisor, he's been around for 12 years. There's nothing you're going to teach him that he doesn't know. That guy is losing.
You know what I like? There's something else I like about what Michael's suggesting here. They do that. So it's not a suggestion. He puts it in play. It's not just the fact that you're going to catch things so you don't have a bad client experience where something goes wrong a week later and they got to come back in again, right? But if you've got that service advisor that doesn't feel so comfortable bringing everything up, even though they know they should. Oh, wow, they've got this problem here. That's going to be a big bill. I don't want to have to tell them about this too, right? When you pre-frame and you let the client know that you're going to be doing a free 100%, a multi-point inspection on the vehicle, and they're not paying for that, right? It sets the stage. It almost gives you permission to explain everything you found.
Look, the fact that they brought the car back into the dealership gives you permission to say what the car needs. They're coming to you because you're the expert. We just
That's right.
haven't owned the fact that we're the expert and we're the doctor of that vehicle. I wouldn't use the word free in anything, right?
Yeah.
You come in here, we're going to do a multi-point inspection. This is what your vehicle needs. We train advisors. You do not make decisions for the customers, right? We have a lot full of all these different color cars out there, right? You may not like the orange one, but somebody likes the orange one. That's why we have it on the lot. You may not like the green one, but somebody likes the green one. You may not like white, but the majority of the colors that's sold is white, right? So you don't make the decision for the customer. Your job is to tell the customer what they need. The customer decides what they want or not. And so that's part of our training to advisors. You are not God to make the decision for the consumer. You present to the consumer everything they truly and honestly need, and the consumer will decide whether they buy it or not. That's your job.
Well, I'll tell you what, hell of a show. That's a wrap on today. Great job, man. That was awesome. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed
it. Thanks. It was great.
So,
blast.
I want to thank everybody. Go ahead.
I got to get a hold of Alex.
Yes, I know. I'm going to look him up on LinkedIn afterwards. So, that's a wrap on today's episode of Move, Crush, Count, where we talked about increasing sales. We talked about increasing profit in fixed ops industry with our special guest here, Arnold Gacita. Arnold shared a lot of valuable insights and strategies on how we can overcome some of our biggest obstacles, barriers, our challenges, the things that are stopping, the things that have the biggest impact on stopping dealers from making more in fixed ops in that sales and profit. And like we discussed, I think over the next several years, probably 2 to 3 years, that's going to become that much more important because we didn't have that new car volume that we're used to that creates that automatic funnel of fixed ops revenue and business coming in. So I hope this episode provided our listeners with a lot of valuable insights, strategies that they can apply to their own businesses, regardless of the industry. And that's very important to me because not everyone that listens to the show's on auto. I grew up in auto. I started my career in auto. So naturally, a large segment of our audience is the auto industry. But all the people that are outside auto, to me, if I'm listening to this show as a business owner or leader, I always tell people to keep your eyes wide open because you can learn things from other industries. And a lot of times best practices in other industries can be integrated into your own and work wonders. And to me, the auto industry, there's so many lessons. First off, the auto industry can learn a lot of lessons from a lot of industries, but this industry, unlike any other, I feel like can teach so many industries, so many things. And there's a lot to learn there. So I want to thank Arnold for joining us today, sharing his expertise. Do me a favor. I want you to get to know Arnold. I want you to get to know Petra Automotive products better. I want you to go visit. Let me get your thing up here. There we go. We got it scrolling on the bottom of the screen. If you're watching us, I want you to go visit www.petraautoproducts.com and visit them today. Catch out what they're all about. They're doing some really good stuff. Full transparency, he's not lying when he talks about increasing sales and profits with my dealerships or clients. So that has happened. So I can at least speak for us. You've done a great job in terms of the support, the training, and the products are top notch as well. So it's helped us a tremendous amount. Remember, everyone, if you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to visit movecrushtalent.com and catch up on all our past episodes. Subscribe. This way you never miss an episode. And you can also follow us on Instagram, join our Facebook group, join this community. Experts like Arnold are in there. So if you got questions, and if there's questions we missed, because not all the places, not all the channels we go to, Arnold, when they comment, they don't all come through StreamYard, which is the service we provide, right? So sometimes make sure you go back into whether it's LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube. There's some questions there that might be there for us, and we want to make sure we get to those and answer them. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We'll see you next time on Move, Crush, Count. Thank you.
Appreciate it.